Hey, it's Joel Mark Witt coming to you from Orlando, Florida. Sunny, beautiful Orlando, Florida, where Antonia and myself just finished our live 5-day profiler training event, where we had students come from all over to learn the art of conversational profiling. These students have been working really hard for months, learning and studying, and then coming here for 5 days to apply all of their knowledge and practice it in real time so we can get the distinctions, calibrations, and application of everything they've been working on up till now. So it was a really exciting event. If you've been paying attention to this 4-part video series, you've seen some samples from myself and Antonia talking on the main stage and teaching some of the content of profiler training. So you get a glimpse into the experience for students. In this video, we're gonna use a question a student asks about tiebreakers. So when you're determining between two types or two cognitive functions, what are some ways you can break the tie between the things you're seeing or experiencing from the person you're profiling? We use that as a launching pad, and by the end of the video clip, you're gonna see us turn this conversation into talking about the value of profiling itself. How powerful profiling is when you create that experience with another person, helping them feel understood. So we're gonna go to that video right now. Yes, so what I think you're actually asking is about tiebreaker questions. Yeah. How to ask, when you have something, two things that you're seeing a tie in, how do we determine which one is actually showing up?
So tiebreaker questions are important, and I highly encourage you to create tiebreakers, field test them. We can talk a little bit about what those can be in advanced profiling. There's a lot of tiebreaker questions that we talk about, but for right now, I just want to make a note on the reliance of tiebreakers. My recommendation is that you also think about process-oriented questions. So there's like a nucleus inside of every function that is seeking some sort of reward, right? Like every function has a reward mechanism, and you can see this when it's in the dominant position. We do our dominant function as much as we do because it's so rewarding to us. We get almost like a dopamine hit every time we're able to be in this function. It's generative, it gives us energy, and does all sorts of stuff for us. But what is the thing it's doing for us? What's the thing that's causing the reward? And that's at the center of each of these functions. So one of the things that I recommend you do is basically identify what that reward is. So then when you're listening to somebody, maybe answering the flow question and you're digging a little deeper to get that gold, when you hear the thing that brings them to life, when they explain to you what it is that they love about this, whatever activity it is, and you hear them talk about the reward that they receive from it, that's really what you're looking for. So kind of like we were talking about before, sometimes it's just getting to the center of that will be your quote unquote tiebreaker. When you're creating your tiebreaker questions, make sure you understand the reward center of each of these. So introverted feeling and extroverted feeling are going to have two different reward mechanisms. So as you're creating and sort of refining some of these tiebreakers, you say, is this the thing that you're doing it for to get this reward center? But of course you don't use that language. Or is it this thing? Is this the reward for doing that activity? Extroverted thinking, introverted thinking. Is it the reward of closing a loop? Is that what you're looking for? You're trying to close this loop and that's the reward? Or is it collecting more information and seeing more of a bigger picture? Is it feeding your mind so that you can get clarity and make these connections and have it make sense for you? Is that the reward you're looking for? So as you're designing your tiebreakers, make sure that you don't forget the process. The process is, I'm using this function because I'm trying to get this reward. So don't forget about that piece. And as we refine some of these, right, as we go further into some of these, like, is it this or this? That's really what we're trying to ultimately diagnose, is what's the reward at the center of each of these functions.
Because the behaviors can look similar from different types. Mm-hmm. Yep. Different types can have the same behavior. So you can't just, we look at behavior and we ask them, what do you do in the situation? How do you show up in the world? But you can't just look at the behavior. You have to go back into the why of the behavior, the process of the behavior.
Yep.
Because a lot of types can get to the same things that they're doing, but you have to understand why their cognition is doing it that way.
different systems will create the same emergent. All right. So that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult to tell type sometimes, is that you have the same emergent behavior, but it's a totally different system running. And part of that system running is the reward system or rewards that we get for each of the functions that we're using. If they're native to us, remember, we get rewards for our native functions. So remember, different emergent or same emergent, different systems running.
So remember, this is exciting because you are creating an experience with another person, one-on-one through a conversation, conversational profiling. This isn't typing. You're not just looking at the behavior of a TV character on a screen, which is fun. That's where we all start. Remember, we all start there. We look at characters on TV. We run into people in the service industry and we try to type them without really having a conversation with them based on their behaviors. But as we get into conversational profiling, now we have the ability to ask questions of somebody. We can get feedback. It's a two-way connection. We talked about rapport building. We talked about all of the creating that container for them to have that experience. Well, now we have the back and forth with the questions. You can ask them directly, and they can tell you the reasons why those behaviors are showing up for them.
Yeah.
This is powerful. We all have this ability in this room that we're training to do. Very, very intense and powerful for all of us.
Right, because profiling is really, it's an opportunity to listen to somebody else for like 45 minutes or an hour and really get inside what their experience is as a person.
Yeah.
Like, how often does that happen for you? How many times? Yeah, it never happens, right? Like, how many times have you had somebody like sit down and go, tell me everything about you?
Yeah.
And all the non-triggering stuff. Like, I don't have to hear about your traumas or anything, but tell me how you operate and work. Tell me how you experience the world. And you have that moment when two people are engaged with each other for a time period that nobody experiences, and you feel so seen. That's basically one of the most powerful components of doing this, doing this as opposed to just taking a test or an online assessment or, like any other way of diagnosing type. This is the one way where you're just with this person and they feel seen and heard and validated. And maybe they've never experienced that their entire life.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for the question. 10 minutes to the top of the hour. We're going to take a quick break. Come back in 10 minutes. We'll see everybody back then. What I love about the video clip you just saw is really the heartbeat of what profiler training is all about. Creating an experience with another person where you have a conversation, allowing them to feel understood and heard. And like we said in the clip, maybe for the first time in their entire life. What a superpower that is for you to go through the world giving that gift to other people. It's a win-win. And as you've been watching this short series and you're getting a taste for what we do at a live profiler training event, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more. I'd love to invite you, if this is something you're interested in, if you've been thinking about it for a while, to go explore this over at Personality Hacker and find out more about our profiler training program. We'd love to invite you to come when enrollment opens at the next enrollment period to join this program and learn the art of conversational profiling for yourself.